welcome back. Win here with another video. Today, if you're working with ServiceNow and want to connect your client scripts to server-side logic, this video is for you. Today, we're breaking down GlideAjax with a real practical example. GlideAjax is a way for client-side scripts to call server-side script includes. In simple terms, client sends a request, server processes the logic, and then the server sends a response back. Think of it like making an API call inside ServiceNow. So, why should you use GlideAjax? Well, some of the common features to this: it allows you to access server-side data securely, it avoids exposing sensitive logic, it also improves performance by fetching only what you need at the given time. So, let's go over how GlideAjax actually works. So this is the flow that it typically follows in these steps. So first, the client script initiates a request is sent to a script include, the server processes the request, the response is returned to the client, and the client script then handles the response. Now, let's go over this with this infographic that I've generated. So, client-server communication flow. So essentially, client script, first step, initiates the request. Client script is triggered by a user action, either on load, on change, or button click. It prepares the data and then initiates the request to the server. Now, the request is sent to a script include. The request is sent asynchronously to the script include on the server using GlideAjax. At this point in time, the server processes the request. So the script include processes the request, performs the required business logic, queries the data, applies validations, etc. Whatever logic you put in there, script include will execute. At that point, response is then returned to the client. Whatever the data we are returning, it will then return the response, usually in a JSON or XML format, to the client script, and then essentially the client script will handle the response. So receive the response, processes it, and it can update the UI, show messages, populate fields, or perform any other actions. In short, client script initiates, request goes to script include, server processes the request, response comes back, and the client script handles it. Now, let's build a real example. When a user is selected, we automatically fetch their email. So, to do this, we're going to go create a script include. So, essentially, I'm going to go to our script include. Now, create a script include called user utils. Now, there's two functions in here just to showcase that you can add additional functions and essentially call per function to a client script based on its use, and that's why we use a script include. So we've got a function here that is going to return get user email. Now, I do want to point out you do need to enable GlideAjax for it to be called from a client script, so always ensure you have that set to true. And essentially, we've got a function here that will essentially get the user that is provided from the script include. So essentially, we get the data from the from the client script, and then we essentially query our user table. We bring back our required email, our field, and then essentially return that data. And if we can't find any user, it will return empty, essentially. So let's now look at our client script. So set email of caller. So essentially on change on our caller field of an incident, it will essentially go and find that particular caller's email. So over here, we are calling the script include via our GlideAjax function. We are then adding our parameter, so we are getting our user email function, which is the function name, and we are then essentially providing the caller ID to this particular parameter, which we then use as our part of our Glide record query. We then get the answer back from the script include and essentially set the value to our custom field that we created for this, and then essentially provide that response. So that's essentially it. Now, before we go showcase this working, just some key concepts to point out whilst we touched on script include and client script. So the sysparm name, this specifies which function in the script include the call. So if I go back to the client script, Essentially here, the first parameter we're adding is the syspom name, and this specifies which function in the script include to call, and we define the script include in that first GlideAjax function call here. Now, parameters passed using the add param, and it must begin with the syspom underscore. The asynchronous callback then uses the get XML answer, and it handles the server response without blocking the UI. So asynchronously means you don't block any processes. If you don't do it asynchronously and you do it on the glide, like a glide record on the form itself, it will essentially block the whole page. So this is to essentially improve performance. Right, let's showcase this working. So I'm going to open up an incident, and you can see here we have our caller's email field that we've created, and this is a string field. Now, we can see here that the caller is already defined, but if I was to change this caller based on my script include, it should. So let's find anybody else that able tutor, and we can see here it comes back with that person's email. So I'm going to change it back to LinkedIn, and we can see here it defines that. Now, this is just to showcase how you can fetch data and then set values on the form. I hope this has helped. Now, let's go back into best practices. So, best practices around using GlideAjax and client scripts is to ensure you keep responses lightweight. Use the JSON stringify function for structured data to essentially bring it back as string values. Avoid unnecessary GlideAjax calls. Use meaningful parameter names. So we talk about, if we go back to our client script, we can see here we've got user ID, and then we essentially retrieve that parameter, but it makes sense as to what we're actually bringing back. And then lastly, always validate data on the server. So just make sure you're getting the right accurate data from the server query. Common mistakes to avoid: not marking the script include as client callable, and essentially going back, that is our GlideAjax enabled. Always make sure this is ticked, otherwise your client script won't work when trying to call to a script include. Using incorrect parameter names, so just always check you cross-verify when you're adding it from the script include to the client script that the name is the same. Not handling the asynchronous responses properly. Essentially, when you bring it back, what do you need to do with it to actually process it correctly? Do you need to show something, set something? So always ensure you're doing something with that data. And then returning complex objects without JSON formatting. So if you're bringing back a lot of data and it's not formatted correctly, you're not going to be able to process it. Now, when to use GlideAjax? So use GlideAjax when you need real-time data fetching. You want to keep the logic secure on the server, and you need to dynamically update form fields. Avoid GlideAjax when the data is already available on the client, so you don't need to retrieve it, it's already there, or if the performance is critical and multiple calls are unnecessary. So if you're looking to update a field where you're fetching a lot of data, it might not be worth doing that from a client's perspective, and there might be alternatives you could look at. Conclusion: GlideAjax is a powerful tool in ServiceNow that enables secure and efficient communication between client-side scripts and server-side logic. So by using GlideAjax effectively, developers can build dynamic and responsive user experiences while maintaining strong security practices. And that's GlideAjax and ServiceNow. Simple and powerful. If this helped, hit a like button, subscribe for more tutorials. Want more real-world examples? Drop a comment, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you all. Bye.